A Dark Piece by Dana Lee. I want to start off with the missing page from chapter 24. So this is backtracked a bit. I'm causing trouble for you, I'm sorry. Oh, you're no trouble at all. She's the trouble. She's mean and hateful, as she's always been. Who is this little man? This is Shiner. I'm afraid you are sleeping in his bed. Don't worry, Miss McBride does not allow him in the bed either. She laughed. Shiner had wriggled from her arms and was now in the bed, licking Daniel's face. She envied his technique. He's quite the lover, you see. He's very cute. Yes, he's my baby. I love him. Where's your mother? She died long ago after giving birth to my brothers. I was just a baby, so I don't remember. I'm sorry. Yes, you must look like her. She must have been very beautiful. She was Irish, as we all are. Like my father. What's he like? He is the epitome of the Southern gentleman. He runs a large sugar plantation. He also owns property in the quarter. He loves horses and women. Are you like him then? No, not at all, but I do love horses. Are there slaves on your father's plantation? Many. I was raised by my mammy, who raised my mother as well. All right. So that was the missing page from chapter 24. So we're going to finish up the book tonight. And we are now on chapter 43. Lee was late. She hated to think about it because she'd rather die, but she was afraid she might be pregnant. Nothing was going as she had hoped. She hadn't expected much, but between the pregnancy, the espionage, and the dead Yankees walled in the pantry, it was all too much for her, and she began to lose it. Her sister-in-law was strange. Not that she blamed her, but even when she was there, she never really was, unless at the piano. Today, Chopin's Waltz No. 7, over and over again. Her husband was absent, fulfilling his feudal duty to the dying Confederacy. There was a strangeness in the air, as if something was coming, something big, and it was a hurricane. Lee was scared half to death. Don't worry, sugar. Titi will fasten down the shutters, and we'll wait it out in your rooms in case of flooding. We're in a brick building, not a shotgun shack. There ain't nothing to waiting out a hurricane. Marie attempted to ease her mind. We'll make some punch and read the fashion magazine by lamplight. Titi, go latch the shutters, all of them. Bring all the lamps and candles that you can find to the third floor. Also food, water, slop pots, and blankets. Where is brother? I suppose that Mama will be coming back to weather out the storm with us. There's a hurricane a-coming? Yes, go do what I tell you. I know you can't swim. Lordy, mademoiselle, you think Madame O'Neil be bringing all those Creoles along with her? I hadn't thought of that. I wouldn't put it past her. She's been far too quiet lately. Lee wondered what she meant, but was far too worried about Daniel to care. She wanted him with her, and she felt the strange sense of unease overcome her again, and wondered if it was a child. It began to rain, and the salty southern wind blew. Come on, sugar, I'll let you show me that embroidery that you're always busy at. Marie, who stayed in these rooms before I came? I don't know, honey. I suppose that is where that colored girl you heard Danny mention, our Miami's daughter, stayed. She lived here? Oops. Well, yes, let's talk about something else, all right? Why? It's none of your Yankee business, that's why. Oh, I'm sorry, sugar. I didn't mean it like that, she snapped, then caught herself like a cat. Daniel knows her? Oh, honey, she was our mammy's little girl. We grew up with her. always looked at these rooms and felt like whoever designed them must have loved somebody very much. You know what I mean? They are very romantic, rich, with content. Don't you think? Mama said they were tacky. Marie, did Daniel have many lovers before me? Don't I tell you too much family business as it is? Well, I'm only wondering because he's the only lover I've had, of course. Of course, I know that. Everybody knows you Yankee girls ain't loose. They both rolled about in laughter. I think you're just worrying about my brother staying because you are getting fat as a spring cow. Look at you. Straying. Lee was mad. I'm not fat. You and your mama are as scrawny as rebel prisoners is all. It's all those opiates. They laughed some more, and Marie handed her another glass of punch as the rain came down. Oh, really, I shouldn't. Why not, honey? Marie, I think I'm pregnant. I haven't told Daniel. I haven't had the chance, although I'm sure he'd be thrilled. I'm terribly upset about it, Marie. I know it's a sin, but I don't want children. Never did. Marie laughed. You Yankees eat your young, don't you? I'm sorry, sugar. I think it's wonderful, and I'll be an aunt. Do you have any nieces or nephews? I have a niece, Elizabeth Hope. I guess I'll never see her again. She was beautiful. She missed her father, her brothers, and the rolling hills of home, and wondered for a moment if she had done the right thing in coming here, into the eye of the storm. That's a pretty name. Elizabeth was my mother's name. Was she as sweet as you? She died when I was a baby. I don't remember her. I wish I did. Instead, I grew up with a rotten housekeeper, the quintessential Yankee, if you can imagine. Miss McBride she didn't miss, and could imagine her gloating at her misfortunes as if she was getting what she deserved. I'm so sorry. Daniel and I, we were spoiled, you see. We had Mammy and our Mama. I know Mama is a different breed, hell, we all are, but she loves us, and I can't imagine life without her. Still, I miss my Mammy, as I know Daniel does, too. Mammy was wonderful, different from Mama. She was so loving and never concealed it from any of us. She had to. She was forced to love you, or else you'd sell her downriver. She loved us, like you loved Danny. Someone is here. It must be Danny. Let's go see. But it wasn't Daniel at the door. Instead, two wet, dark women with carriage cases and tapestry bags stood in the foyer, shaking out their black shawls. Lee couldn't make them out from where she stood on the steps till Marie exclaimed, "Mama!" Chapter 44. Daniel found himself waiting on the front step of the Greek Revival House on the corner of Burgundy and Rampart, a mid-class brothel. The townhouse on Toulouse was Spanish, over 100 years old. This house was new by comparison, but was already in a sad state of disrepair. Camellias thrived all along the sides of the house, making up for chipped paint and soft pine. He was grateful for the bit of a roof over the small porch as he was soaked and rang the bell impatiently. He did not want to be seen here. A child, a little slip of a thing, finally opened the door a crack, and he was sorry he had come. It was wrong, and he wished his father and his mammy would lie quiet now and leave him be. Who dat? He saw a pink nose turned up at him, and little painted toes. "Excuse me, mademoiselle, is there a Cherie who lives here? Perhaps her son Christopher? Do you know them?" She opened the door a bit more, but the chain still held. "I don't know you." "I know all of Miss Cherie's Johns. Who are you?" "How you know Christopher?" He was embarrassed. "No, my mammy was Miss Cherie's mother. I really must see her. If you won't let me in, I'll understand, but do give her this. Take a bit for yourself." He handed her a little bag full of gold coins, a great deal of money, more money than even Madame Lou ever had in one night. She thought he was handsome and opened the door and let him in. "Give me your coat." It was soaked. "You wait here. I'll wake up Miss Cherie. It was afternoon, but before he could refute her, the child was up the stairs and down the hall. She went into Sherry's room without knocking. The room was not what she was accustomed to, rather dingy and dusty now that she had to clean up after herself. There was a single bed with a pink marabou boa laced through the brass at the head, fitted with musty yellow sheets and a pink lace coverlet. A lamp, pink frosted glass, an empty tumbler, and a full ashtray were on the nightstand. That was also painted pink. She had picked the room for the wallpaper, little pink and yellow roses and white wainscoting. There was only one window in the room with white cotton drapes. There was too a cheap brass vanity and mirror. A little rug, stained and worn with matching rosebud pattern, lay across the dull wooden floor. Christopher had an adjoining room which was small, and he shared a twin bed with the 4-year-old child of another girl. That's how he got sick, consumptive, shortly after moving here. She could hear him coughing from his bed when she woke. She awoke to Helene, stirring her to wake at the foot of the bed. "What is it, child?" "There's a visitor to see you." She plopped a little bag of gold down on her chest. "He says I can have some too, can't I?" "He's sure enough rich, ain't he? He's real handsome, too." Cherie got out of bed and went for her washbowl. She began grooming herself automatically, feline. "Well, who is he? What's his name?" "I don't think he said his mammy was your mother." "Oh, Lord, it's Danny. Run, child. Go sit him down. Fix him some coffee and beignet. Tell him I'll be right down." She handed the child a gold piece, and she lifted up her shift and tucked it in her bloomers. There was a long rug running down the hall where Daniel waited uncomfortably at the bottom of the steps. He noticed that the floor needed swept, and that the place smelled like smoke, fried fat, and bourbon. The child, Helene, came running back down at him. "She'll be right down." She pulled him by the arm back to the kitchen and sat him down. "Prince," she howled out the window, and a rather fat black boy in short coveralls came in. "What you want?" "Can you get us some coffee? A plate of beignets still warm wait on the table," and she unwrapped them. She handed one to Prince, too, wrapped in a napkin, and pointed to the pot of coffee on the stove. "Lord, there's a storm coming, and I's got to take care of those chickens." Still, he got cups and saucers down from the high cupboards for her and set the pot of chicory coffee on a pad on the table before going back out. Helene poured 2 cups of coffee and sat down next to him with one, pushing beignet in her mouth. She had powdered sugar all over her chin. She slurped her coffee, adding cream and sugar before putting her bare feet up on the table. "Aren't you a bit young for coffee? Shouldn't you be drinking milk?" "Got milk in my coffee." "I see." Cherie entered the kitchen wearing a white silk robe. She couldn't get her hair to do much today and tied it back in a snood. Her face washed, she did not wear much makeup, still very beautiful as he remembered. "Danny, darling," she cried a little and gave him the warm hug of a lost child. "It is so good to see you. You can't imagine. I'm so sorry about your daddy. How can I begin to thank you for your generosity? Oh, how are you, Danny?" "I'm good, really good considering. Thanks. I can see you've been better. I want you to take the money and your boy and get far away from here. The way the war's going, it's not going to get any better. Go north, Cherie, someplace new. Is the boy Christopher here?" She was still somewhat headstrong, and he had shocked her a little. She was embarrassed, something she hadn't allowed herself to feel in a long time. "You know about him? Who told you?" "Marie." "I see. You know who his father is." "No, who?" "He's your brother." "Can I meet him?" No, sugar, he's sick." "What's wrong with him?" "He's consumptive." "He coughs," Helene explained. You've got to get him out of the city, somewhere the air is clean, someplace dry. Thank you, I will. I was thinking west, really. Maybe we'll make it all the way to California. Marie said that you were living in the house on Toulouse. I was. Your father said I could. Said the house was mine, that it'd send Christopher away to school. Then the war. The Yankees killed him. Your mama threw us out on the street soon as she got here. She said she'd kill Christopher if she ever heard mention of him again. I believe her. She scares me. She said she say he ran off with the Yankees. Nobody would believe me. Mama couldn't kill anybody. You can't imagine her dishonor upon discovering Daddy's indiscretion. She called me a nigger whore, said to get my black bastard out of her house. Well, it's my house now by law, and I want you to get busy and come back with me there to wait out the storm. Besides, I want you to meet my wife. Oh, you got married? She squeezed his hands. That's so nice. I'm happy for you, Danny. But no, your mama is crazy, evil. I know it. I won't have my baby anywhere near her. I know I must sound an awful hypocrite, but I don't trust her. I know she's your mama, darling. I'm sorry, but she's bad. Mama isn't there. She's at the cottage in the Garden District with the de Galvez women. She might have offered you to stay there. Anyways, I have to get back to Lee, my wife. Come on, then, get the boy. He rose and looked around. The house on Toulouse is much safer now, brick on higher ground. She didn't get up, though. She just sat there at the table, hands clutched as if in prayer. You know, Danny, she whispered, sometimes I think it's the end of the world. The natives said New Orleans was tainted ground. I think they were right. And they also hung their dead from trees. He looked out the steamed, rain-battered window. I have to go. I won't be back. I shouldn't even be here, but my conscience wouldn't allow for otherwise. What's it gonna be? He offered her his hand, but she did not rise. Thank you, Danny. You're a good man. Please understand, I cannot take my child out in this. He's in bed. Besides, I would never step foot in that house again, not on his life. I do not want your mama to know where my boy is, not ever. He's sick. Promise me you will never speak of seeing me. It is taboo. Promise me this. Whatever you wish, Cherie, so long as you promise me to take the boy out of here. He kissed her hand. I do. I love him. I'm a good mother, Danny, whatever you believe. I loved your daddy, too. He was a good man. I want for you to know that. I hope you visit. I hope that you have broken the curse. Thank you. The sky was darkened with heavy black clouds. He waded down Burgundy in what had become a torrent of wind and rain on his way home. The streets were empty except for driftwood, flotsam, and trash being swept up and washed away. He knew that a sedimentary muck would be left behind, filth and grime, and the stench of all things stagnant and drowned. New Orleans would be a tarn, a miasma after the storm. Chapter 45. Oh, Moselle, what a surprise. I'd like you to meet. There's no time for pleasantries, Louise interrupted her daughter. Lord, we are soaked to the bone. T.T., Lord, where is she? Oh, there you are. Fix us some toddies, won't you? I don't believe there's any whiskey. Lord have mercy. Show Mademoiselle up to Marie's room where she can change into something dry and get us something hot to drink, anything. You spoiled her while I've been gone, haven't you? I can tell. Now she'll be no use to anybody. We've missed you, Mama. Lee hadn't, but stood there, smiling still. Louise knew that Yankees, like devils, always shone false smiles. Where is that son of mine? I swear. He's out most mornings now since you had them send that letter to the army explaining his situation and whereabouts. Official, secret business. He does not discuss it with us for our own safety, he says. Shoot, they've got him rubbing elbows with all the Yankees now, I'll bet. He ought to get home. It's getting bad out there. Lee and I have been getting along so well, Mama, just like sisters. Come up with me, sugar, while I change my clothes. We won't be but a minute. They left Lee standing alone on the first floor, and she felt truly alone and scared for the first time in her life. She walked to the parlor and parted the velvet drapes of the first window. All she could see was rain. Not a comforting, nourishing northern shower, but one that obliterated everything in its wake. She became nostalgic and sad. She felt she had lived her life already, a life she had left behind. Then the dark peace settled in. The peace of forgetfulness, of the careless, the selfish, and the selfless. She closed the drapes and exhaled. Still the rain battered the house and sidewalks. Feet shuffled from overhead, but she was alone and wondering when Daniel would get home. What is this? Sisters with the Yankee? I knew better than to leave you here. Oh, Mama, she's very sweet. Beguiling. Well, I see through it. Wait till he sees Moselle. Isn't she gorgeous? One look and I bet he throws the Yankee over. Marie laughed. Oh, I don't think so, Mama. She's pregnant. You're going to be a grandmother. Oh, but it's still a secret. She's not even positive about it yet, and Danny doesn't even know. She only just told me about it today. But she must be. Why, she's fat as a pig. Louise sat down on her bed with resignation and put her face in her hands. Her mind, however, began to formulate a plan that would have made Medea proud. She would be damned if the Yankees inherited her world. She had enough of it all and was fed up. It was high time she was done with them. Her mind wandered to the Yankees in the wall. How triumphant she felt about them and their snickering, underhanded ways. She imagined them writhing in hell and was pleased. She enjoyed mixing the rice paste mortar and filling in the old bricks just so. It wasn't so hard to outsmart them. Look how they ran all the way home after Manassas, and how easily they were mown down like weeds at Fredericksburg. She didn't really have to think about it at all. For once an idea entered her head, she was hell-bound till execution, especially now. The last few years had been such a blight, everything in survival mode. Mama, are you all right? Yes, just tired. Tell me, what else has been happening around here while the cat's away? Marie sat down at her mother's vanity and put makeup around her eyes. Well, speaking of cats, Danny ran into who other than Cherie and was asking about her. I should have gotten rid of them like I did those Yankees. She wouldn't make that mistake again. As if having a black bastard in the family were not enough, she simply could not accept dirty, thieving, corn-fed Yankee offspring, not from her only son. His father had his shortcomings. She knew that when she married him, but he was rich. Her son, on the other hand, was perfection, till the Yankee stole his right arm and replaced it with this breeder. The women lit the lamps and candles and were waiting for Daniel around the dining room table. And who is this? Moselle asked Marie about Lee. Oh, Moselle, I'm sorry. Where are my manners? This is my sister-in-law, Lee. Lee, this is Moselle de Galvez. She lived at Indigo Manor, the neighboring plantation. Louise's mouth snapped shut. Marie continued with the introductions. The Yankees burned down her house, too. Lee was struck by Moselle's exotic beauty. Her thick, dark hair reminded her of the Prince's Bride in the story about the moss that Danny had told her. Excuse me, Moselle put her slender hand to her bare chest. You are married to Danny? Yes. Oh, For how long now? A year now. I guess we made it through newlyweds now. Moselle's face was set in a sneer that held something back, something broken. Oh, she said, and set her dark eyes at Louise, who had not informed her. She was humiliated and never should have come. If you'll excuse me, I'm not feeling so good. Must be talking about the house and the storm. I think I'll head up to bed early and sleep through everything. I'm sorry, but I feel so tired. Give Danny my love. Nice to meet you. She got up from the table without looking at them and slipped up to her room. She wished she were a crow and could fly away invisible, away from the storm. She wished she were dead. No, she wished it on Lee. Marie laughed low behind her lace-gloved, ruffled hand as soon as she heard the bedroom door close. You really know how to make a guest welcome, don't you, Mama? That's enough. Marie laughed even harder. Sometimes so much they won't ever want to leave. She held out her glass of Bordeaux to her. Lee had to laugh too. That's when Louise knew. She knew about the Yankees in the wall. Probably even knew about the black bastard too. Nothing was sacred. Of course she knew. After all, Marie had blabbed the Yankee trash to her. Before she could even change her clothes, dirty Yankee baby, knowing all the family business. Business they'd hang her for. Well, she'd be damned. I could not possibly leave the poor child at the cottage to drown. Her mother and sister went to Baton Rouge to stay with their aunt, but Moselle so wanted to come. She hadn't seen Danny since he went off to war. What could I say? I didn't have it in my heart to tell her. Poor child's had her heart broken too. Marie turned to Lee. I'm afraid Moselle has had her heart set on Danny for a long time. Oh. Why don't you girls go up early to bed too? Maybe check on the child, see if she's all right. I'll wait for Danny. He can't be much longer. I'm worried. Come on, Lee. Marie, you will sleep with Moselle tonight, won't you? I feel awfully bad. I'd rather she not be alone. I'll have Titi bring up breakfast for everybody. Good night, Mama. Chapter 46. Daniel got home late, soaked and bedraggled. He had made a late stop with his connection, who attempted to coerce him into relocation, Mississippi. His mother had kept his dinner for him, turtle soup and shrimp marmalade. Oh, I do hope you don't mind sleeping in your rooms tonight, sugar. I sent the girls up to your wives. That's all right, Ma. I'm so tired I reckon I could sleep anywhere so long as it's dry. I don't think the storm is as bad as predicted. No. You can thank our St. Alphonse for that. Why don't you get off to bed now, too? You look tired. I'll get you up in the morning for breakfast and to clean up the courtyard. Good night, Mama. Good night, sugar. Lee had fallen asleep in her bed waiting for him. She lay dreaming not of him, but of her mother, and Michael Finbar, and the handsome Elijah Wood, of all people, was there as well. They were in a sunny room, full of windows, with lace curtains at the table having breakfast. Elijah got up and offered her a seat. Her mother wept openly and beckoned her to join them. She took her seat. They were eating French toast, hot cakes, and apple crisp. It all seemed to be warm, glowing, and beautiful. It smelled heavenly. Nobody offered her a dish. Michael stared at his wife, resurrected and lovely, with sheer admiration and bliss, transfixed in a spell of the dream. Elijah chewed silently and stared out the window to the green hills, abloom with blossoms. Finn plowed into stacks of hot cakes and kept his looks of accusation towards her down to a minimum, which she was grateful for. Frida's here somewhere, Mother said. The rest of the house was quiet and still. Louise went out to the back of the courtyard where the oleander bloomed. She took the leaves and came back to the kitchen, dripping. She got the milk from the ice box and placed the oleander in the bottle, concealing it beneath a towel and sliding it all in a back cupboard safely, just in case she was disturbed. Her grandmother Claire was a Cajun and was knowledgeable about herbs and roots from the bayou. She also knew a thing or two about the African and Haitian mojo and magic. This dark and secret knowledge she passed on to her daughter. Louise saw it as her last resort. She loathed that she was forced into such sinful, savage practice. The dirty Yankees left her little choice. They just kept coming at her, driving her to such malice and madness. She sifted some flour into a bowl with some honey and set it aside. Selecting some green apples, she sliced them paper thin with a sharp little knife, mixed some cinnamon, praline pieces, and crumbles of brie with them. She then whipped some soft butter into her flour mix. She took a piece from this and set it aside. Taking the last bottle of milk from the icebox, she poured some into the big bowl of flour, rolled up her sleeves, and kneaded into a soft dough, which she rolled out, stuffed with her mixture, and rolled into little crepes. She slid some extra butter across the tops, wrapped them, and stuffed them in the icebox to wait a couple of hours. She then took her separate bit of flour, poured the oleander infused milk into it, finished the preparation, wrapped them, and hid them separate in the bottom back of the icebox, not to be found. Gathering the oleander, she concealed her secret weapon in the back of the dark, wet courtyard under hidden foliage. What was left of the infused milk she capped and also hid, concealed in the back corner of the icebox before going to bed. She was like a child trying to go to sleep on Christmas Eve, so when it finally hit her, she hit deep. She woke first at dawn and hurried down to the kitchen. She whipped up a light, sweet sauce for topping. She took the good crepes from the wrapping and placed them in irons on the coals. She took a tray of coffee and crepes up to Daniel's door first, knocking and going in. "Wake up, sugar. I brought your favorite breakfast. I know it's early, but I'd like you to get that courtyard cleaned up before the ladies wake. It's not so bad, branches, twigs, but there's a drowned nutria and an old water snake. Mama, this is good, just like she used to make for him Sunday mornings before church. How we missed them. There was something about this southern cooking that the Yankees couldn't touch." "Thank you, baby. I know how you like them." She then woke T.T. next. "Get up. Come help me with breakfast. I have some ready for you. I know you work too hard these days, and I'm going to repay your loyalty to the family. I'm going to be taking it easy on you. Let you retire with some dignity. I want you to know how much we really do appreciate you. You're one of the smart ones, honey. While the others are living in shanties, you've got it better than most." "These are good, madam." She relished the sweet, crisp crepes and thought that madam really should be doing the cooking. "Thank you." She sat down with her at the kitchen table and had some herself. They are, aren't they? My mama used to make them. When you have finished, will you take these up for the girls? These are for Lee. Moselle is staying with Marie. Let me get the coffee." She took the tainted milk from the back of the icebox and poured the remaining in Lee's coffee along with 2 sugar lumps. T.T. took the tray up and knocked at Lee's door. "Yes?" T.T. went into the sitting room, left the tray on the table, and called her. "There's breakfast for you here, Miss Lee." She came into the room, feeling quite better this morning. "Is Danny home?" "Oh, yes, miss, he's home. He's out in the courtyard cleaning up the snakes." "Snakes?" "Yes, they's come with the storms. Rats, snakes. But the madam, she don't want you ladies to see them, so she's got the little master out there cleaning 'em up before you sees 'em." "Good Lord, so the storm's over." She sipped at her coffee and sat down to eat, spreading a napkin across her dressing robe. The crepes were gorgeous, the best thing she had ever tasted. Her little fork chimed off the fine breakfast plate. They were so light, flaky, honey and butter she tasted. The soft cinnamon apples took her back home. "Yes'm, it's over. Praise the Lord." You finish your breakfast and come down and see us. Chapter 47. Titi brought breakfast in for Moselle and Marie, who were awake and talking. How nice, thank you. Titi, we'll be down after we've dressed. It's so early for me, you know. She left them. That was awfully a mean trick Mama pulled on you last night. I'm sorry. She means well. It was just such a shock. I had no idea. It was not the best of times for me to find out, you understand. I'm just mortified. I feel like a fool. I'm going back to the cottage today. Sally Mae is there. I'll be all right. Oh, I feel just terrible, but that would make it most comfortable for everybody, wouldn't it? Except for Mama, of course. How she adores you, really, always has, you see. By 10 o'clock, everybody was out in the courtyard, which was washed and clean of debris. It looked more lush and inviting than ever. Moselle discovered her plans to return to the cottage, but Louise insisted, "Wait and see." "Where's Lee? I guess she'll be sleeping late now, too," Marie giggled. "Titi, go see," Louise insisted. "Nah, I'll go get her, Mama," Daniel smiled. "You had better let Titi. Women's troubles," Louise whispered and winked at her daughter. "Oh, all right then, but go get her, Titi. I haven't seen her since yesterday." Titi went up and found Lee back in bed, apparently sleeping. She brought her empty tray back down to the kitchen to wash. "Miss Lee must be feeling poorly this morning. She's back in bed." "So much for the industrious," Louise laughed, and so did Marie. "I'll go up and get her." She could hold him no more. He ran up the staircase, and for once again he thought that the portraits of the long-dead ancestors were talking about him. The room seemed different to him, and he threw open the windows. He noticed that her robe was thrown over the vanity mirror. She looked so pretty while sleeping, and he did not want to wake her. He just stood there forever looking at her as angel. How beautiful! Till he thought his heart would burst like a shell. He bent over and kissed her lips. She tasted sweet and warm. He decided to let her sleep after all. Chapter 48. She was given a Catholic funeral and burial. There were not many mourners. It was the first day of September, and the rains fell hard and punishing. She was laid to rest, Mrs. Lee O'Neill, in St. Louis Cemetery. He had a mausoleum of her own commissioned with angels in the ironwork. They returned home early. It was not the traditional Irish wake she would have been accustomed to. He hadn't spoken a single word since he had discovered her dead. He thought it his fault. He didn't understand anything. They did not know how to console him. Only she knew such things. She was an angel. She brought him back from the dead and saved him. Due to his own concerns and cowardice, he brought her here, this God-forsaken place, his home. They never knew her, understood her, as he did. "I just wish I knew what happened. She wasn't sick." "No, she was pregnant, darling. She didn't have the chance to tell you. Then, well, this. I didn't think to tell you, as it only compounds the tragedy," Marie cried. Pregnant, so at last it was true, and he had killed her. He put his head in his hands. Well, she couldn't have been far enough along for it to kill her. "Didn't her mother die in childbirth?" Marie asked him. "She was by no means close to childbirth." "The doctor called it brain fever, darling." Louise touched his shoulder, but he shook her off like a spider. Marie left them and went up to her room and the piano. She too was now wondering what really had killed her. Yellow fever, scarlet fever, typhoid, influenza. The world was so deadly and life was so fragile. She played Innisfree. The song was sad and reminded her of Lee. She smoked a pipe and went to sleep. She dreamed that night about the Yankees again. They were there, sitting at the kitchen table, smoking, asking for more coffee. Only their eyes were closed all the while, and blood dribbled down from their faces and off of their chins into empty white china cups. When she awoke, she swore she'd take that secret to the grave. Daniel decided to go up to Georgia with the army in spite of everybody's wishes. There seemed no other place for him to go in his mind, and he needed to get out of New Orleans and her deep gulf of secrets. He couldn't face it anymore. Life was supposed to be petty after war, but the war was not over, and life was precious and fleeting. He still could not feel his arm, but then again he didn't feel much at all. Like his sister and her opium pipe, his life became a daze. He needed to hear the rebel yell once again, that defiance and will, as Marie needed to burn out the truth and the void. He was hoping for a wake-up call, or the end. Either or really didn't matter to him. "Oh, take me with you," Marie begged him. "I can stay with Aunt Delphine in Savannah. Oh, please don't leave me here." "If there ever were two women who belonged in New Orleans, it's you and Mama. Be careful, my darling." He hugged her once and was gone. Where did he go? Louise caught sight of her daughter at the door. "Oh, Mama, he's gone." She watched as he disappeared into the rain-soaked street, only to reappear to her behind a fine veil of mist in dark, peaceful sleep and dreams. The end.